You're injured. You've been in a wreck. Your car's totaled. It's not drivable. And some insurance company has given you some lowball settlement offer that barely covers the loan you have on your car and doesn't even touch your medical bills. You're nervous. You don't know what to do. You don't want to take their offer, but insurance companies have always treated you right in the past, and you just kind of assume this is how it is. I'm Shane McGuire. I'm a personal injury lawyer here in Texas, and I'm going to show you how to prevent being taken advantage of with some lowball settlement offer from an insurance company. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 tips to make sure you get the compensation you deserve and you don't undersettle your case. First, why is it that these insurance companies even bother with these lowball settlement offers to people after they've been in a wreck? I'll tell you why. It's 2 reasons. One, people take it. They wouldn't do it if people didn't accept those offers. And I'm telling you, happens all the time. Some insurance company offers somebody a few grand for their medical bills, even though their bills are way higher than that, and $1,500 in their pocket, and they take it. And for a week or two, they're happy. And then they find out they've got medical bills stacked up. They're hurt worse than they thought they were. And the insurance company says, "Oh, I'm sorry. If we'd only known, you see, we have this release that you signed. And so you can't come back at us anymore." They're like King's X. You can't touch us. Okay? They've won. And they win because people take those offers. The second reason they do it is they're trying to prevent you from building the value of your claim. So, insurance companies know that like a day after a wreck, you're really sore, 2 days after you're really sore, but it may be a week or two before you even realize how hurt you are. And it may be months before you realize all the care and treatment you're going to need in the years ahead as a result of this moment where you were in a wreck. So those insurance companies are trying to make a lowball offer for 2 reasons. One, you'll take it. They know so many people take it. And 2, they're trying to eliminate risk. Don't ever forget, they look at you as a loss. They call the claim date the date of loss because you're nothing to them but a loss leader. So what are the 5 things you can do to prevent yourself from being subject to and victim of a lowball settlement offer from an insurance company? Hey, number 1, don't give a recorded statement. That's the first hustle they're going to try. Some insurance adjuster is going to call you and say, "I'm Sue, I'm Joe," whatever it is. And, on their script that they have, because they have a script, it says, "Appear empathetic, show sympathy, be emote or whatever, be an empath with this person." And they look at it and they're acting, they're playing a role, and they're trying to get you comfortable with talking to the insurance company. So, for example, in that recorded statement, because you're a nice person, you're not a whiner, you're not a complainer, they'll say, "How are you doing?" And you'll say, I'm fine, I'm okay, could be worse, not as bad as I thought, I think I'm getting better." Something that we in Texas say all the time to make sure somebody else doesn't think that we're just whining about something, because we don't want to come off that way. And I don't want you to be a whiner. We never want that. But you want to prevent yourself from being in this position where you say something and that insurance company uses against you later when you decide, "Hey, I don't want this lowball offer. I'm really hurt. I need to make a claim." And then some schmarmy insurance lawyer from Dallas or Houston is throwing the statement back in your face and saying, "Well, didn't you say this way back when this adjuster called you?" Like, "Yeah, I did." I'm telling you, in life, you're either explaining things or you're explaining them away. And you never, ever want to have to be in the position of explaining away something you previously said. Second thing you can do to prevent yourself from being subject to a lowball settlement offer, make sure you gather evidence early. And this can be a couple of things. One, just as simple as, making sure you have the right at-fault driver. Sometimes, and I know this sounds crazy, people will lie and say, "It was this other person driving." Especially in a situation where the person gets out of the car, they've just rear-ended you, and they say, "Oh, let's not call the police." And they seem nice, but really they're telling you this because they've got a warrant out or they've had some criminal issues in the past. The warrant out, they'll say they got paper. "I got paper out there." And somebody's got paper out there, blow it in the wind someplace. They don't want you to call the police. And so what happens is you're nice, "Okay, we don't call the police." And then that guy gets his passenger or maybe just somebody who wasn't even there, to say, hey, let's say you were driving. And just because you were being nice to somebody in the moment, on the back end, now you've got coverage issues on the policy. Well, this person isn't a driver on the policy. This person they're saying is driving. You didn't gather the evidence up front. Now, at the scene of a wreck, you're not in a position to be documenting a bunch of stuff, gathering stuff. You know whose job that is? It's the police department. It's DPS. It's local PD. It's the sheriff's department. Call them. There's no shame in calling 911 after a wreck, even if it's not a catastrophic injury. It's their job. They need to make sure people are safe out on the roadway. They may need to write a citation to this driver. They need to document it, that driver's caused a wreck. The police want that too. They may get somebody in the moment who's frustrated at their day, but police departments want to make sure that they work those wrecks. You're not harassing them. You are not an interruption to their day. If you call the police and say, please work this accident where somebody rear-ended me, let them do the investigation. That's their job. 2, hey, take pictures. Man, I can't tell you how many clients I've had who, this happens a lot actually with heart patients who are on Coumadin or some sort of blood thinner, bruised up and down. And they'll call me like 6 months later and they look fine now. You wouldn't believe the bruise I had, on my chest or shoulder or back, whatever. Okay. Did you get pictures of it? No. Well, let me tell you something. I had a bruise doesn't move the needle near as much as a series of photographs that show how bruised you were in the days, weeks, and months following a wreck. Simple stuff. Take a picture of your property damage. Take pictures of how everything got moved around in the car. Where I had a case once where my client was in a pickup truck, as you can imagine, and they had a tow hitch in the back. And those tow hitches, solid steel. At-fault driver rear ends the pickup truck. You got the tow hitch, so there's not a lot of property damage on the truck because it all hits that tow hitch. And so the insurance company's like, well, there's not a lot of property damage. And I'm like, yeah, it hit this solid steel ball and propelled the whole truck forward. I'll tell you what the client did that was real savvy. The client had a drill that they had just bought at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and it was in the back seat. And upon impact, the force was such that it threw that drill forward into the front seat. Okay? Now, we had that picture of like where it ended up. And we were able to send that to the insurance company and say, hey, listen, this is the force of the impact. Look at what it threw in the cab of the truck. Thankfully, it didn't hit the person in the head. I mean, it really could have been serious, more serious than it was. But something little like that, showing how debris in the car or things in the car moved after impact, hey, that can be really helpful. Take pictures of the other person's car. Sometimes, like the tow hitch case, the property damage on the truck with the tow hitch may not be much because of the tow hitch, but the property damage on the at-fault driver's vehicle could be huge because they absorbed all of the impact. That's meaningful when an adjuster or maybe even later a jury is evaluating the damages in the case and deciding how much to award to my clients. So take pictures of the property, take pictures of injuries, and make absolutely certain that at the scene, you figure out who the driver is. If they talk you in somehow to not calling the police, take a picture of the driver's license. Take a picture of their insurance and just make certain that we know who the right person is to make the claim against and that we've got injuries and damages documented. Third thing you can do to prevent yourself from being subject to and a victim of a lowball settlement offer, don't take the lowball settlement offer. The first offer they make to you is going to be bad. They don't start off with, hey, would you like all the money? We would just like to give you all the money that we have. We're a multinational insurance company and typically we're profit oriented, but today we've decided that we're going to do No, they don't do all the money day at the insurance company. The first offer they make you is not the best offer. The first offer they make you is their attempt to get out of the case quick and undersettle it and just leave you out there hanging. Because that guy's not a bad guy. The guy making the offer, he's got a job to do. And he gets evaluated in part on how quick can he turn claims around for how little money. That's what they do. Hey, I've said this before. Insurance companies are like 5-year-olds at Halloween. They get that bucket out. They take that bucket to every house on the block. And somebody puts in some Smarties. And somebody puts in, some gum or Starburst or whatever, and they come back home and mom and dad wants a Snickers bar out of there. Like, oh no, you can't have the Snickers bar. My kids, they never let me have the Snickers bar. They ain't gonna let me have the peanut butter cup out of there. They're trying to give me the Smarties. They're trying to give me that candy corn trash that everybody gives away because it's cheap. Candy corn at Halloween is the lowball settlement offer of Halloween candy. And that's what that adjuster's doing because his manager, that makes him look good to his manager. That goes into his profit sharing incentive or to whatever raise he's going to get in the future. It goes into their evaluation. So everybody has an incentive in these cases. And the incentive the insurance adjuster has is to pay you as little as possible, as quick as possible. And you have the power to say yes or no to that. All the power. And they make you feel like you don't have the power. But believe it or not, I always say the most powerful word in any negotiation is the word no. And you have the power to just tell them, no, I'm not going to take your crappy lowball settlement offer. The fourth thing you can do to make sure you're not a victim of or subject to some lowball settlement offer from an insurance company after a wreck, know how much your case is worth. It's not enough to reject some lowball settlement offer just to take like the next rung up crummy settlement offer that they make to you. I've had so many cases where client comes in and they say, Shane, they've offered me $1,500, $2,500, and I settle that case for $100,000 later or $50,000. I had a case a couple years ago. Client comes in and she had been offered $40,000 from a large company, a large retail outlet. Their main color is blue. We're not going to say who it is, but a large retail outlet. They had an 18-wheeler on the road and hit her and offer her 40 grand. And she asked him for 75. She thought if I had $75,000, that would be great. And they offered her 40. And she said, hey, look, they won't come up. We can look at this. And the property damage was there. She was injured. She was still hurting. And I said, you're an insane person. I said it real nice with Irish charm. Okay. But I said, this is crazy. You can't take 40 grand and you can't take 75 grand on this. They were just trying to work her down. We settled that case for $1.25 million 18 months later. Okay. Took some work, had to take some depositions, had to get her some additional medical treatment that she needed as a result of the wreck. But that's a great instance of an adjuster who I'm sure is a nice person. They're just trying to do their job and get the best deal they can for their employer. And my poor client who had no idea what her case was worth because nobody's educated her on that. Those insurance adjusters are trained on what cases are worth. Those insurance adjusters are trained on how to get a claimant, because that's how they view just some claimant, to take the least amount of money possible. But then you come in and you tell them, hey, so as soon as I let them know I was around, I said, hey, first letter I send in a situation like that is, I'm Shane McGuire, represent so-and-so. We hereby retract any prior settlement demands that have been made, whether I know any have been made or not. That's off. Now I'm in charge. Sure enough, a week later, hey, we sure like your client wanted 75. We paid that $75,000 just by now that doesn't mean I'm special. I mean, my wife thinks I'm special, but it doesn't mean that I'm special because of this. It just means that they know that once a lawyer gets involved, the value goes up if that lawyer knows what they're doing. And like I said, we got that from a $40,000 offer before she hired me to settling it a year and a half later for $1.25 million. The first thing you need to know after you get that lowball settlement offer in, know the value of your case once you've rejected that offer. The fifth tip to making sure you're not victim of some lowball settlement offer in Texas after you're in a wreck, get a personal injury lawyer who knows what they're doing. And I know you're like, oh, it's self-serving, you're a personal injury lawyer. Yes, I want you to hire me if you're in a wreck. That's true. But man, it doesn't matter if it's me or if it's somebody else. Hiring a personal injury lawyer who knows what they're doing increases the amount of compensation you're going to put in your pocket at the end of the day. We get a percentage of the recovery. The way it works when you hire a personal injury lawyer, we work on a contingency fee basis. That means we get a percentage of every dollar that comes in as a result of the settlement or the verdict. And that means that we are 100% aligned with you. The more money you make, the more money we make, and vice versa. Our job is to maximize the value of the case to make sure we get as much money as we can possibly get from the at-fault driver's insurance company, whether it's Allstate or Progressive, somebody who insures just a personal lines auto, some guy driving down the street, or whether it's a big commercial insurance carrier for some national retail chain or something. Our job is to make sure you get the most money you can get out of your claim and not be the victim of some lowball settlement tactics that these insurance companies have. Hiring a personal injury lawyer, it's not just about negotiating with the insurance company. I mean, if it was that simple, you could just hire anybody who's in the negotiation business, I guess, to do that. No, we do a lot more than that. Hey, we make sure that you get the medical treatment that you need. A lot of my clients don't have health insurance, and a lot of my clients that do have health insurance, their doctors don't want to treat them because they've been in a car wreck because they say, I don't want to give a deposition. I don't want to have to testify. I don't want to get involved. And lawsuits are like kryptonite to doctors. Oftentimes it's like Superman being presented with kryptonite. Don't want to touch it, like garlic to a vampire. Although doctors are more Superman than they are vampire, okay? There's no casting aspersions on the medical field here at the McGuire firm. But the reality is they don't want to get involved. For understandable reasons, it's a disruption to their practice. Over the years, we've developed connections with a lot of doctors in Tyler, in Dallas, in Houston, and really all over the state of Texas who will treat our clients and wait to get paid when a claim settles. That's a huge advantage to you because you don't have to go through the bureaucracy of health insurance. You don't have to deal with the VA. You don't have to deal with Medicare approving this or that or Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever. You can just dive in, and the approval process is, does our firm approve it? If you need the treatment and the at-fault driver has enough insurance to where we can justify putting the risk out there, yeah, we're going to approve that, and you're going to get the treatment you need because the reality is money's not enough. We got to get better. My goal for every client, I always tell them, is twofold. One is to physically get you back to where you were before the wreck. And two, financially, to put you in a little better position than you were before the wreck. And if I do those two things in every case, physically get you back to where you were and financially put you in a better spot, then I've done my job. You're happy. You'll leave me a 5-star Google review, and then you're going to refer the next person to you. So we're going to do investigation. We'll hire experts to inspect the cars. We'll hire experts to inspect the roadway, do accident reconstruction if necessary. We get you into medical treatment. We hire an expert to map out the future care and treatment you're going to need as a result of the wreck. They need to pay you for every ad bill you're going to take the rest of your life as a result of this wreck. And we can hire a life care planner to map that out for us so that we can include that in the demand that we make to the insurance company. And then finally, we're going to negotiate the claim. But you're not ready to negotiate the claim until you've locked down liability, until you figured out how much insurance there is, until you figured out the nature and extent of the injuries, and until you figured out what damages you're going to have going forward as a result of the wreck. Only then can you really negotiate the claim, and you don't know any of that 2 or 3 days after the wreck when those insurance companies are trying to get you to sign off on some lowball settlement offer. Okay, what have we learned today? 5 things. Number 1, don't give a recorded statement. Number 2, gather your evidence early. Make sure we have everything. 3, never accept the first offer. It's always a lowball offer. 4, know the value of your case. You're not ready to negotiate until you know the value your case has. And 5, hire a personal injury lawyer who knows what he's doing and knows how to negotiate these cases and work them up for you. But listen, I'll tell you something else people get stuck on. They've seen these 5 things. We're kind of doing the 5 things. And then maybe if you've ever been in a relationship that isn't working out, sometimes people hire a lawyer and it turns out not to be the right fit. Okay? That happens. That happens in this business. Sometimes you hire somebody and it was a bad hire by you. That's okay. If that's you, watch my next video, when and why to change your personal injury lawyer. In that video, you're going to learn when it makes sense to switch lawyers and how to protect yourself when you do so. Click over now. Don't let one bad decision tank your case.